In life, you have two choices. You can build a lifestyle or you can live a bullshit life, but you can't do both. Welcome to the Freedom Lifestyle Experience, where we focus on building the lifestyle you want. And now here's your host, Michael Burns.
Welcome back to the Freedom Lifestyle Experience. I'm your host, Mike Burns. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So it's Thursday about midnight right now. Kia and I just got back from a week-long trip in Florida and got to shoot this podcast so I can have it to you guys by Monday. Make sure I'm keeping my word and showing up like I say I'm going to. But yes, we were in Florida for a week. We flew into Tampa and had a wedding that we went to. And then my DM fam with Mark Evans Mastermind happened to be getting together the following week in the Florida Keys. So we just spent the week out there and kind of covered quite a bit of ground too. But it's a perfect because it's fresh in my mind and also just ties in really well with last week's episode on mentors and coaches. This week, I want to talk about your network, your circle of people, like the environment that you're putting yourself in, the people you're spending your time with, and really talk about that because at the end of the day, your circle, your network, the people that you're spending time with, your friends, your family, they're either assets or liabilities. And you really got to pay close attention to this. So for me, I'm only spending my time with people who are assets, people that bring positivity to the table. They support me, they encourage me, they got my back, they're loyal, any and everything within being a positive influence in my life. So as humans, we need a connection. Like we need to feel a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and the human connection is just part of the deal being here. So our family and our friends and the people we're spending our time with, these are the people that we're connected to. They're the ones that we're spending our time with, and they have a huge influence on our life. And that can be great. And it can also be not great as well. So you really got to monitor this. And I know I talked about this in previous episodes, but I really want to go deeper on it today because it's a big deal. And I've had some time to reflect. So the reason we went out to Tampa was to go to a wedding. My buddy Sean Henry and his wife Malia now. And we met Sean and Malia through the Arete Syndicate, which was or is a networking group that I'm a part of, a mastermind, a brotherhood. It's played a huge role in our life being part of the Arete Syndicate and the relationship that we have and the people that we've met. It's really, like I said in last episode, it's the best and biggest investment I've ever made in myself, but just the relationships that were forged from there and placing yourself in an environment where people are willing to pay $6,000 a month or $65,000 for the year to be part of this group and really buying into an environment where, if someone else is in that same room and they've made that same financial commitment than you have, then they better be pretty fucking serious and they're probably good people. So really going all in on that group and those relationships. So we were out there for the wedding, but I kind of want to talk about the different networking groups that I'm a part of, different relationships that I have and the roles that they play in my life today and how powerful your network and your relationships are. So the wedding was cool because it was nice to see Sean and Malia, but also several of the other OGs, you could call them, of the Arete Syndicate. We all met up there. So it was probably a good 8 or 10 of us. And it was just good to spend some time together, celebrate Sean and Malia getting married and catch up and all of that stuff. But when you're around people who they're just doing life, they're building their version of whatever lifestyle looks like, but they're winning and they're showing up and they're trying to get better and they're building relationships and you have that same synergy together, it makes a big influence in your life. And then also not only that, but it's unlocked a lot of deals for me and a lot of opportunities. Like just through Arete, I've got a couple of guys in that group that are like big brothers to me that I've never had. But in addition to that, we do deals and make money together. I'm part of a Texas, just north of Dallas. It's a land development deal, like 100-acre development deal. And I'm a financial partner in that. I'm not doing any of the operating, but we put in $100,000 on this deal and the returns are great. And it's with a guy that is from Arete Syndicate. There's also some other people invested in that deal, but not only the opportunity that comes up, because I see deals and opportunities all the time, but the level of trust and just the bond that's forged through this group that we're a part of makes the deal feel safe and secure. So it's not just about the return, it's also the return of your money. And just through this group and these relationships I've built and the type of people that are in that type of environment that I placed myself into as well, I'm investing money, 6 figures on this one deal. I've also, several guys in the group have invested their money with me in my deals. And that's cool because it's given me more capital to do deals with. My deals are providing a return and a good, solid, safe investment for these guys. But to be able to do the business and the deals together is super cool for a relationship. And it kind of takes it to a whole nother level. And then Kia and I last year, we bought into a medical clinic here in Salt Lake. So they do Botox and filler, hair removal, tattoo removal, just all that different shit. We're an equity owner in this company in Salt Lake that my buddy, his company, we basically bought out an existing clinic, rebranded it under my buddy's brand. They've got like 14 other locations across the country, but we were able to have that opportunity through Arete Syndicate. So, I mean, I've got several different deals that have happened through that. On top of that, the relationships. I remember when COVID hit, that was a big deal. Everyone was tripping, but if you're in business and you had money out there, it was kind of a scary thing until we really figured out there was just a bullshit scamdemic and turned into what it is. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, guys. I had to take that shot. But back to COVID, I remember everything going down and we had like 14 flips going and it was really intimidating. It's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the market? Like what are the banks going to just tighten everything up and stop lending overnight? You start thinking 2008 going the worst case scenario. And for me to be able to plug into this Arete network and the calls that we were having as groups and like the guys that I was able to call, just individually having that level of support and just knowing I was around other high level people who were in business. Not only that, guys that are much more experienced than I was, to be able to kind of call on them and not go through that point in time by myself and really be able to have a support group and a support system was a big fucking deal. And I credit a large part of how well we kicked ass through the whole COVID thing and how well I handled it and responded that first month, which just mobilizing our teams. And I spent like 10 days just getting huge orders together with Home Depot and our other suppliers and setting up deliveries. So we were literally getting all the materials that we would need down to, a sink faucet. Because I was thinking if Home Depot closes for a month or 6 weeks or all this crazy shit these guys are talking about, I need to make sure that I have everything that we need to keep executing on these deals, but also letting my guys know like, hey, we'll figure it out. You're still going to have work, and being able to step up as a leader and lead them and let them know everything was going to be okay. I was going to take care of them and we were going to be all right. That all played a huge role in the whole COVID situation. And that's because I had been part of this group of like-minded people who are trying to do more, get better, and really vibe with everything that I've been talking about throughout my whole podcast. So that's a little bit on Arete Syndicate. And then so when we wrapped up the wedding, we hung out over there in Tampa for probably 4 days. And it was just cool. We had a great time. But then we went from Tampa, drove straight east over to Fort Lauderdale and stayed at our friends Julian and Vicky's house, who I also know from Arete Syndicate. Julian's from Canada, recently relocated from Canada to Florida, and he's building a whole new business. So it's super cool to see them doing that. But we went over, stayed with them, had a great dinner, hung out at the house, hot tubbed, got some good quality time in. And we're able to, just brainstorm a little bit with my buddy Julian. He loves business. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. And I'm that way a lot too. So I always appreciate my time with Julian. But where Julian and I actually met, we met at Arete. But when they would open I got this thing that I like sitting in the front row. So the first few summits that we had, in the first couple days of the first few summits, they opened the doors and I would kind of hustle to the front and get literally a front row seat. And the first 3 times, Julie and I ended up right next to each other in the front row. So we became front row brothers, and that was just kind of our thing. So it was cool. That's how we connected. But anyway, so we stayed with them. And then the following day drove down to the Florida Keys, where I met up with Mark Evans and our DM fam. And that's another networking group, mastermind group that I'm a part of, that Mark Evans leads. And I talked about Mark. He's one of my mentors in last week's episode. But that was really cool. So we were just at this resort in the Florida Keys we got there Monday night, did a cool, nice dinner Monday night, just kind of, hung out, kind of a welcome reception thing. And then we did Tuesday, Wednesday mastermind. So we'd mastermind in the morning from like 8:30, 9 in the morning to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon each day. And then from 2 to 5, we went out and hung out. We went on a big catamaran one day. The second day, we just hung out and kicked it by the pool. But that's when everyone's networking. And, so the first part of the day, we're sitting there learning, getting content. Mark's talking to us. We're going around talking about each other's businesses and what we're working on, what our biggest challenges are. How could the group help us? And everyone pretty much gets a turn doing that. So we would do that the first half of the day. And then the second half of the day would be going and doing something fun, hanging out, and then getting to know each other and building the relationships. And that's really where the big value for me is those times where you're getting to know people, but, out when you're having a beer by the pool or when you're out on a boat, it sets up the environment for just relationships to be built. And another thing that was cool with that too is everyone brings their spouse, and if they want to bring their kids, that's cool too. So now you got kids that come from similar families and a similar entrepreneur mindset. A lot of people aren't that way. So for kids to be hanging out with other kids that are being raised and grown up in that type of environment, it's pretty cool. And then the wives get to talk in, and that's why they call it the DM fam. It truly is like a family thing, which is a big deal for me. Family is one of my core values. And that's something that's really important to Mark, but not only Mark, but all the guys in the group too, because Mark's the leader of the group. So anyone that's going to be part of this group is going to vibe with Mark and really like what he's about and what his core values are about and how he's operating and running his life. We want to emulate that. So again, an environment of like-minded people who are in business, family's important to them, and they're just trying to do more, get better, and build their network and their business. But through the DM fam, there's a guy named JR, and he's actually the one that produces my podcast. So because I'm in this group, in this environment, I meet a guy that really understands building a brand, and that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I am doing with the lifestyle brands. But he offers a podcast service. So I do what I'm doing right now, record it and then upload the raw data, and they actually produce the podcast and do all the marketing and stuff for it, which is cool. So through that group, I have my podcast. Instead of talking about it and it being an idea, it's actually happening. Another huge thing that's come from that group for me is crypto. About a year ago, I didn't know shit about crypto, and now I'm like heavily invested in crypto, doing well. And of all the things that I do in business, I think crypto's actually got the biggest upside potential, and I'm really excited about it. I wouldn't be in crypto, and I certainly wouldn't be as aggressive and as confident as I've been able to do with the investments that I've made in crypto because of this group that I'm in and I'm involved with. Also, one of the guys in the group, he and I bought a 40-unit apartment deal a year ago, last December. I got another guy who's about to place $100,000 with me in a real estate deal that I'm doing. So business happens when you're hanging around people who are doing what you want to do, and there's this level of trust and respect for each other, and everyone's doing deals and doing business and shit. Like, stuff happens. And that's another reason you want your network and the environment that you put yourself in. You want to put yourself in an environment where shit's happening, deals are happening, people are growing, people are moving, people are shaking, stuff's going on. So, and that's what I've said in previous episodes too. It's like, when you're doing something, or if you want to start doing something, or you want to be doing more of something that you're doing, you got to put yourself in an environment where that stuff's happening. But it was really cool and extremely valuable for me the last few days to be able to be talking with these guys. A lot of them are in real estate, or at least invest in real estate. They own businesses, pretty broad range of things that people are doing in this group, but there's 36 of us. And for me to be able to sit down in front of everyone and say, hey, everyone's familiar with me and my business and what I'm doing. But for me to say, hey, like, this is kind of where I'm at. These are a few of the key things that I'm focused on and working on. Every meeting, Mark asks us to come prepared to the meeting with like, hey, what's the one thing that if I fix this one thing, it'll take care of 100 other things. That's pretty much, what he asked us to do when we show up. So my big thing was really growing my brand and my personal brand and the lifestyle brand, and starting to recruit people into our atmosphere, whether it's loan officers, real estate agents, investors that want to invest money in our deals, or people that have deals and just could use our assistance putting it together. You liking my podcast, Freedom Lifestyle Experience, and just really everything around this brand that I'm building. That's kind of my big focus right now. And to be able to get the feedback and just the encouragement and everything from the group and the different ideas and strategies, but to also see what some of these other guys who have done a really good job doing the things I want to do, being able to get advice from them. Like I said, this is last week when I was telling you, there's only one hack, and it's having a coach or a mentor or someone who's done something similar to what you're doing, able to kind of give you the quick tips and the shortcuts. That's a really big deal when you have that access. So what I like to do as I'm talking about these things and topics and points that I'm trying to make, I really like to relate it to what I'm actually doing. So I'm not just some guy up here talking full of shit. And it's nice to just share my version of how these things have come together and how I've come to realize the things that I do. But the 10X Growth Conference, I'm going to it at the end of March this year. I think it's probably going to be like the 6th one, but I've been to the first 4. But the first 10X Growth Con was in Miami in 2015, I think. And on the plane going out there, I saw a guy named Ben Lemon, who's a mortgage loan officer. And I had knew Ben, and he was flying out there to go to the conference too, out of Salt Lake. But he had a guy named Tyler with him, who I had met for the first time. He was a real estate agent. But I met Tyler only because we were both on a plane leaving Salt Lake going to Miami to go to this 10X Growth Conference. Well, fast forward, 7 years, and this dude's one of my best friends. Like, we're homies, we're doing deals together. Like, he's like one of my best friends. And that's because I'm putting myself in an environment where I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to grow, and other people are there because they're doing the same thing. So these are the types of people that you're going to meet. But going to these 10X Growth Conferences over the years and just seeing, people that are kind of like Grant Cardone and running that tribe, you could say, I've developed same thing, multiple relationships that have come from that. I don't know that I could link any deals to, well, actually Tyler and I, we've got like 4 new builds going right now. So deals right there came from that. But the relationship that I have with him is far more important than any deal. But another network or another environment or group that I've plugged into and played a huge role in my career and really got me started in real estate was SLREIA. And that's the local Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. Last week, I talked about the coaching and the mentoring and like some of these groups. Arte is expensive. The DM fam, that's $35,000 a year. 10X, like it costs money to go to these things. They're out of state. You got to travel. But there's also a lot of local shit going on too. And SLREIA was a big deal for me. It still is. My first probably 10 deals, every part of the deal came from SLREIA somehow, whether it was a wholesaler that brought the deal, a hard money lender or a private money lender that lent the money, a contractor that did the work. Christina, my title lady for the last 10 years, I met her there. So SLREIA is same thing. It's a place where people in your local area are doing what you want to do. This is real estate investing for this particular thing, but every trade is going to have a group like this in town. I guarantee you just got to look it up and do a little bit of looking, but people are doing what you want to do. You just got to go plug into it. So SLREIA was big, and it's cool now because I spoke there a few months ago, and I run the skills training, and our mortgage company is now sponsoring the group. We're going to be the preferred sponsored mortgage company broker for the group. But a lot of the relationships that I have here locally in Salt Lake with other investors, hard money guys, people who I consider dear friends, and again, circling back to the COVID thing or just any sort of uncertainty, like being able to bounce ideas and ask for counsel when needed is a big deal. And I've got guys like that here in my local market in Salt Lake that's the relationship that I have with them. I can call them and ask them for help, ask for their input on something. And when you can bounce ideas off, that's the power of the mastermind. That's the power of the network and the relationships. You're not doing this shit by yourself, and other people have different perspectives that you might not, that's going to help you, shed light and maybe give you a fresh idea or a different perspective that you didn't think about that could really help you progressing with something, or it could prevent, help you not progress in something and kind of put the brakes on a situation that maybe you didn't see. And one other one early on when I was first getting going in real estate is I joined Century 21, when I had already been flipping houses. I got my license. I decided I wanted to start doing some of their retail real estate agent shit. So what I did is I joined a team. I joined a guy named Chris Martindale's team. He was selling, I don't know, probably 60 homes a year at the time. And he was doing what I wanted to do. So I joined his team and was able to get mentored by him and be around that environment. Back then, Century 21, George Morris and John Syatt owned that. And George is one of the best speakers I've seen. And he would run every morning. We would have what they called morning ascent. It was at like 7:30 and we'd go in there and kind of do some hoorah, Tony Robbins dancing around shit. But then George or John would give like a really awesome sales meeting talk on all sorts of different topics, but they would really get you fired up and set the tone for the day. And then you're writing down 10 things you're grateful for, writing your goals down. They had some mantras that they would say, and it was just really cool. It was a great environment to be in, you know. And also when you're in an environment like that, there was that office at that time was the top producing real estate office in the Salt Lake area, or really in Utah, I think. So to be able to plug into that environment really kind of catapulted me towards success, because I was around people who were being successful in real estate, and that was exactly what I wanted to do. So I put myself in that environment. So now, you know, I'm consistently monitoring the environment that I'm in and the people that I'm spending my time around. But now I'm trying to create the environment. I'm trying to create the space for people to come plug into. And that's what we're doing with the podcast. That's what we're doing with our monthly meetups at the lifestyle offices, just creating a space where people can come plug into. It's positive. You're going to learn something. The networking's there, and just you're showing up to a space where there's like-minded people that are trying to do more and get better. So that pretty well covers the message I got for you guys this week. I'm actually, like I said, I just got off a plane. It's like 12:45 a.m. now, but tomorrow I'm speaking at my buddy Stratton's Strat Daddy. That's his IG handle. I like it. But he asked me if I'd speak at his mastermind that he's throwing Friday and Saturday here locally in Salt Lake. So I'm going to put the finishing touches on my presentation for that and go do that tomorrow. And other than that, you know, I really appreciate you guys listening. All the cool feedback and comments and texts has been really cool. And I appreciate you guys supporting me, and sounds like everyone's getting some value from the show. So if you're getting value, if you're learning, if you're liking it, please leave me a review. Please share the show. I want to connect with you online. You can follow me on Instagram at michael.burns with a Z, BURNZ. On Facebook, I'm Mr. Michael Burns. So we'll see you guys next week, and go build that lifestyle.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.